Hello, everyone. Deepak Chopra here, and it's my very special privilege to speak to Dr. Roshini Raj, MD, gastroenterologist, founder of TULA Skincare, has written a wonderful book. It's called Gut Rejuvenation. Unlock the age-defying power of the microbiome to remodel your health from the inside out. Coming from a gastroenterologist, this is a very lovely book for everyone who wants to know how to actually change both genetic activity, not the genes, but the genetic activity, not the human genes, but their activity, upgrade it, but also change the genetic information that is dominant in our bodies, which is microbial. And for every 25,000 genes that we inherit from our parents as at conception, as we come into the world, we acquire 2 million extra genes and sometimes 20 million, depending on where we live. So we can upgrade our parental genes, but we can actually change our bacterial genes. And if our body is the 3D printout, hollow movement of the software, which is genetic information, that means, at least I would say, we can print out a new body, which I've been doing for a while now. So with that little introduction, thank you for joining me, Roshini. Why did you write this book?
Well, I wrote Gut Renovation because, the microbiome has fascinated me since I learned about it 20 years ago during my training as a gastroenterologist at NYU, and that's where I continue to practice today. And when I first heard about this idea that there are good bacteria, bacteria that actually help your body, as opposed to everything we learned in medical school about bacteria being bad for you, we want to get rid of them. Now there was this idea that actually within our gut resides a teeming community of trillions of organisms, bacteria, yeast, fungi, and all of these things can potentially really help not only your digestive system, but your overall health. And of course, 20 years ago, we really were focusing just on the GI tract and how the beneficial probiotic bacteria can help there. But as time evolved and as my practice evolved, I saw that actually this microbiome has far-reaching effects well beyond the digestive tract. And that's what made me so fascinated by it. I was very passionate about studying the research, following the movement, and seeing that it affected even in my own patients who took probiotics or focused on their gut microbiome. They noticed changes in mood, in skin, in weight management, all of these things where it made me feel sort of like, wow, it's a good time to be a gastroenterologist because now we're learning this microbiome is actually command central for our entire body. And we talk about the concerns that are affecting the American population. It's obesity. We're concerned about aging, chronic diseases, cancer. The fact that by actually manipulating, optimizing, taking care of your microbiome, you can have a huge impact on your development of all of these conditions that we don't want to develop, or really enhancing the good things that we want to have in our life, like better sleep and better stress management and better mood. Knowing that all of this can really be affected by your microbiome, I thought this is something I really want to teach the public about, really get them up to speed on the latest research, because it's something that we're really just seeing such a steep learning curve over the last few years. And I wanted to make it accessible and finally make it something where people have actionable tips and advice on what they should be doing today to take care of their microbiome so that they can live their healthiest, most vibrant lives. That's really what motivated me to write the book today.
Speaking to Roshini Raj, MD, a gastroenterologist, founder of TULA Skincare, and the book is called Gut Renovation, Unlock the Age-Defying Power of the Microbiome to Remodel Your Health from the Inside Out. So I know that right now the science of epigenetics says that every experience, doesn't matter what the experience is, eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, sensory perception, thoughts, feelings, moods, longings, fears, aspirations, relationships, connection with nature. It doesn't matter what the experience is. Every experience in some way or another way modulates gene activity through switches, methylation, deacetylation, whatever, but switches that go on and on, depending how you're not only having the experience, but how you're interpreting the experience influences what's happening in terms of gene activity, and that includes our microbiome. So pillars of health like sleep and stress management and vagal stimulation and mind-body coordination, relationships, emotions, nutrition, as you said, probiotics, biological rhythms are kind of all inseparably influencing the genetic activity, either in the direction of homeostasis or the direction of inappropriate inflammation. But would you say, and I'm asking this because I don't know, that of all these interventions, the most immediate and most effective and maybe the most practical, although everything is practical, is just changing your diet? Talk to me a little bit about that, whether you agree or disagree, and what would be the ideal diet then?
Yeah, 100% I agree. And I called the book Gut Renovation because I really like this metaphor of sort of your body is your home that you inhabit 24/7, all the days of your life. And how do we want to really upgrade that home? And so I break down each chapter with the name of a room in the house. And so the nursery chapter is about how we should be helping our children's microbiome really grow and be optimally healthy. The home gym chapter is about exercise and the relationship between microbiome and exercise. Bedroom is about sleep. But probably the most important chapter, to your point, is the kitchen, because it's all about diet and how that really does have a huge impact on your microbiome. And, sadly, the majority of the standard American diet is not friendly to your microbiome. It's much the opposite. So the highly processed foods and the sugar and the unhealthy fats really do wreak havoc on the balance of the good and bad bacteria in your microbiome, which then has these, pro-inflammatory effects that reach throughout your body. So what should you be doing to foster a healthy microbiome? I think if I had to pick one thing, and there are several things that we talk about in the book, but the number one to start would be increasing the fiber in your diet, because fiber and most forms of fiber are incredible prebiotics, meaning they help foster the growth of probiotics, of good bacteria. And rather than taking, one probiotic strain in a pill, when you take fiber, you're fostering the growth of many different probiotics within your body. And so, the average American has far less fiber than the recommended amount, which is, up to 25 grams for women and 30 grams for men per day. Most people aren't getting that. And we've heard for a long time, fiber is good for you. Fruits and vegetables are good for you. But I think what's interesting now is this is one of the reasons it is so good for you, because it does have such a beneficial effect on your microbiome and the proliferation of the good, healthy bacteria. But there are many other things in the diet that are really important that you can do. And of course, incorporating probiotic-rich foods, fermented foods, is a very direct way to help boost, the good bacteria. So that's things like yogurt with live and active cultures, but also kimchi and sauerkraut and tempeh. And, I try to get a dose of probiotics into my diet every single day. And then many other forms of prebiotics, things like apples, berries, apricots, artichokes, some of these are really good prebiotic activity, antioxidants, polyphenols in different types of food, including dark chocolate for the chocolate lovers, So there are many things in the diet that we can do to really foster this healthy microbiome.
So that's very enlightening, Roshini. I'm speaking to Roshini, MD, the author of Gut Renovation, Unlock the Age-Defying Power of the Microbiome to Remodel Your Health from the Inside Out. So, a few years ago, I decided that I was going to shift my microbiome. And I gave up all meat and all manufactured, processed, refined food and sugar. And it had a dramatic effect on my biology in terms of everything: sleep, weight loss, inflammation, and so on. And, I grew up in India. And when I grew up, at least in my culture or my family culture, let's say, meat was a strong component of our diet. But the meat came from the farm. It wasn't created in a factory with antibiotics and hormones and pesticides and organocides and you name it, inflammatory products. In fact, I remember when my parents first came here, they didn't like the taste of meat or chicken or anything, even fish, because it felt artificial. And I didn't know what they were complaining about at that time. But, now for the last several years, my diet has been a diet with maximum diversity of plant-based foods, which you mentioned. And I cut out meat altogether because I wasn't sure, where it came from. Mm-hmm. And then I actually went on fish for a while. And then, I actually, on one of my travels, happened to see a documentary, which was very well produced. And the documentary said, "Eating Our Way to Extinction." And it went very deep into climate change. It went very deep into the pandemics, went very deep into the health crisis. But it focused mainly on health and climate change. Mm-hmm. And, in this documentary, which I have to say, I was a little alarmed that I had not kept up with the literature. Mm-hmm. The way farm fish is created is as damaging to the climate and as inflammatory to our gut microbiome as any other meat production. And so, you've meet a lot of people say, I don't eat meat, but I'm a pescatarian. Yeah. And they somehow justify that's healthier. From what I saw, it's equally unhealthy. And so, I recently, or a while back, decided I was not going to be a pescatarian either. I would just go all the way. I want your opinion on this because, before we take a stance on anything, and we're all biased because of our cultural inheritance, our habits. But what is the raw fact about animal protein versus protein that can come from other sources?
Well, I think from a GI perspective and from many perspectives, there's no doubt that animal protein is less healthy than plant protein. And you can still, people worry, am I getting enough protein, especially as we get older, for muscle mass? You can absolutely get the amount of protein you need from plant sources, and it's much healthier. So the less animal protein you have in your diet, the better for your gut health, for your microbiome, certainly, and also for your overall health, and it's interesting when you think about red meat in particular, and what happens when you're digesting it. It releases a compound called TMAO, which is the really deleterious compound that's produced by the bacteria that in your gut digesting the red meat. So that the microbiome really plays a role in how red meat impacts your body in a negative way. Now, fish, I think, is a little bit murkier because, if you have the right kind of fish, and it's always difficult to determine where it's coming from and how it's sourced, but omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6, these are healthy fatty acids that are good for your brain and good for your gut as well. But there are other ways you can get those as well. Walnuts is a great source of omega fatty acids. So I think for, animal protein, meat for sure, you want to really, if not eliminate it, limit it. And like you, I haven't eliminated it completely, but I might have red meat once every 2 months, something like that. And then fish is something that you really have to be very careful about how you're sourcing it, not only for the environment, but for your own health as well. But the best diet for your gut and overall health really is the one that is exclusively or mostly plant-based.
Now on probiotics, I've been talking to probiotic experts.
Sure.
Do we really need probiotics if you have all the fiber and prebiotic in your diet and all the micronutrients? How much does the probiotic add really? It's a few billion, trillion bacteria as compared to the prebiotic diet.
Yeah, it's a great
there's
question.
a lot of money being made on.
I was just going to say, it's a huge business being developed around this idea of probiotic supplements. And I think, I really think that maintaining a healthy, balanced microbiome is about so much more than just taking a probiotic pill. So the first thing I'll say is you can take a probiotic pill, but if you're not doing all the other, taking care of all the other pillars that I talk about in the book and you talk about all the time, sleep, stress, exercise, your microbiome is not going to be in good shape just because you're taking that one pill. And on the flip side, if you are doing all of those lifestyle changes that we talk about and really focusing in your diet on the things that help foster a healthy microbiome, and like we said, prebiotics, the fiber, the probiotics, all the other spices and anti-inflammatory compounds that are great for your overall health, but also great for your microbiome. Do I think a supplement is necessary? At this point, I don't think we have the data to support that. Now, there are many companies that say, send us your stool, we're going to analyze it and say you're missing this particular strain and you should have that strain. I think it's a little early to really buy into that. I think one day that might be the case? Perhaps. And I do think one day we're going to get to a point where if you have diabetes and you have your stool analyzed, this one strain is better for glucose control, or that strain is better for arthritis. I think we will get there. But right now, I think the wisest strategy is to really foster diversity of healthy bacteria. And there are some parallels to kind of the environment when we think about diversity being important and, not having pollution or sort of toxins to your microbiome. So yes, I think a specific strain, billions sounds like a lot, but you already have billions in your gut. And if you sort of foster them the right way, they're going to grow and be plentiful and be balanced in the way that you would like. So for me as a gastroenterologist and just putting on that sort of clinical hat, do I prescribe probiotics or recommend them? I do in certain situations for sure, because most of the people who come to see me, unfortunately have a specific issue. They're not coming just for general advice. And for some specific GI complaints, I think probiotics can be helpful. But I think what's even more applicable to the general population and for long-term is focusing on diet and all of the other things we talk about in the book.
The book has very interesting chapter headlines. I just want to read them to you. So chapter 1, meet your general contractor, your microbiome, the architect, your brain. Yes, but you would agree that the brain is not just in the head, it's everywhere. It's a nervous system, including our gut. It has a brain. And same receptors, same kind of neural networks. Chapter 3, the kitchen, eating your way to a younger body and mind. Chapter 4, the bathroom, eliminating issues. Chapter 5, the powder room, beauty isn't just skin deep. I want to come back to that. Chapter 6, the home gym. Chapter 7, the Zen corner, about meditation. Chapter 8, the bedroom, sleeping your way to better health. Chapter 9, the nursery, healthy guts, healthy kids. Chapter 10, the laundry room, detoxing your home. And chapter 11, the living room, the gut reno program, gut renovation program. And then there's a lot of nice recipes at the end and a lot of scientific references to back up the information here. I recommend everyone, if you want to change your genetic information in the body and upgrade your genetic information and move from inflammation to homeostasis and a healthy body and mind, and that you read this book and buy it. Before I let you go, tell me about TULA skincare, and then I have another question about just, you can give one answer to both. Tell me about TULA skincare, but also tell me how the microbiome affects our skin, our wrinkles, if it does, and how our outer beauty is an expression of something very profound going on inside us, and that youthful aesthetics is part of the longevity program everywhere these days. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure, thank you. So TULA is a probiotic-based skincare brand that I co-founded back in 2014, quite a while ago. And what motivated me to start this company was, again, seeing with my patients who were really taking care of their microbiomes and either using probiotics or eating healthily, noticing not only changes in their gut, but changes in their skin. And, for years, patients had been telling us, doc, when I'm very constipated, or, I notice my skin is breaking out. And as gastroenterologists, we sort of poo-pooed that whole, pardon the pun, but ignored that whole connection. We didn't really think there was a connection between the gut and the skin. And now we realize there's a very clear connection. In fact, it's called the gut-skin axis, where anything that's promoting inflammation in the gut, and we know that an unhealthy, unbalanced microbiome can do that by creating, sort of micro leaks in the intestinal lining, which allows sort of pro-inflammatory molecules to pass through and trigger overall body inflammation. Well, that body inflammation also affects the skin. And we know that inflammation in the skin is kind of the root of all evils when it comes to skin conditions. That inflammation can cause the breakdown of collagen and elastin. And so that's where we get the wrinkles from. It can certainly cause issues like acne, rosacea, eczema, dermatitis. And so if you have, just like we say, if you calm and balance your microbiome in your gut, your digestion is going to run more smoothly. If you calm the inflammation and have a more balanced skin microbiome, you can actually calm many skin conditions. So you have less redness, you have less moisture loss, so that helps with hydration. You have stronger collagen and elastin, so you're going to have develop less, fine lines and wrinkles as we age. You actually have more protection against UV damage. So actually having certain probiotic extracts on your skin, and that's kind of the basis of the TULA line, can help mitigate the damage of UV, rays on your skin, which we know is the biggest ager, not to mention a skincare promoter. And so I found it really interesting that there's this connection. And at the time, no one in beauty was talking about it at all. Now there's literally a skin microbiome conference every month. So it's been a huge explosion of research and understanding of this connection between the gut and the skin, and very validating for us as sort of one of the pioneer brands. But it's been really exciting and interesting to see that. And you're talking about the aesthetics of aging. And when I think about aging, I do think about it as sort of the outer extrinsic aging and the inside aging. How are our cells aging? And I know, practiced as an internist for many years, so I'm sure you had the experience I did where you'd see patients, you see them visually, and then you look at their age in the chart, and they don't always correlate. And you can see a 70-year-old who has the appearance and energy of a 50-year-old, and certainly vice versa. And so that always fascinated me. Like, what are these people doing that's making them appear to age more slowly, or not age at all? And to me, what I found in researching for this book is I think a lot of it comes down to your microbiome and how you're taking care of it, because there are now studies that show changes in your microbiome can affect muscle mass. And, one of the sort of appearances of aging is we get older, we appear more frail because our muscles are shrinking, certainly in certain parts of our body, like our arms, for example. But then they looked at, giving 70-year-old, 80-year-olds different types of probiotics, and they actually had increased grip strength or increased muscle strength. It helps with osteoporosis and osteopenia, which is, of course, a very serious condition, but also can, lead to that like stooped appearance as we get older. So there are many kind of more cosmetic things that happen when we age that you can also reverse with taking care of your microbiome. Thicker hair, more lustrous hair. These are things that have been linked to the microbiome. So to me, we've just sort of scratched the surface of what we're learning, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. But at the risk of sounding a little too, ambitious, I do think the key to aging is very much centered in these trillions of house guests that we are hosting, and we want to take care of them so that they can take care of us.
My very special guest has been Dr. Roshini Raj. The book is Gut Renovation, Unlock the Age-Defying Power of the Microbiome to Remodel Your Health from the Inside Out. Before I let you go, Roshini, and thank you for joining us, I have a question. We are actually starting imminently a global telemedicine platform that deals with holistic health. Just wondering if you would like to be part of our faculty on gut renovation and actually also on beauty. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, do consider it.